I'm really delighted that you're able to join us today. We've got folks from around the world with us on the call today, so we really extend our gratitude to our global attendees, our panelists, and our colleagues. We're really here because of, as Kara mentioned, this increasing importance and value of origin, as well as the demand for better coffee, right? We all want to experience better coffee. Quality and taste expectations are rising, specialties showing up in places where our daily lives are happening, in places where we're serving millions of cups of coffee a day. So as specialty coffee moves into more of these everyday context, origin really becomes more and more important, not less. So we're going to explore that meaning, the value of the origin, how quality, credibility, and the human story can show up where daily life is happening. We want to extend a really warm invitation to Andrea and Bill as our key panelists today. Andrea is the head of marketing for Anacafe in Guatemala, and Anacafe represents Guatemalan Coffees. Bill's the head of external affairs for NAMA, and NAMA represents the convenience services industry, including micromarkets, office coffee systems, vending, distributors across channels. And Mike is also serving as a panelist today. And as you know, Mike is our CEO and co-founder, and he is passionate around coffee, and really brings together that sense of the consumer and stakeholder understanding, decision making with the industry realities as well. So just a little, additional framing as we think about the topic today. Why is it important to all of us? Why did we show up, right? Origin branding, that practice of shaping how the world understands where a product comes from, and importantly, why that matters, is a strategic asset. Historically, origins are defined by proof, production data, certifications, standards, and these remain essential, but origin is not simply where a product comes from, it's what that place also communicates and means. It's the meaning, it's the trust, it's the culture, it's the quality, it's the
Mhm.
standards, it's the human story of place. And we as consumers too, we know that origin can translate into powerful shortcuts of meaning. When you think about a car that originates in Germany or a watch that is Swiss made, what comes to your mind? It probably things like precision engineering, craftsmanship, heritage. When you think about coffee that comes from Guatemala, Brazil, Vietnam, maybe you think about things like elevation, farming traditions, flavor notes, authenticity. And we know consumers are paying more and more attention. We see that 83% of US consumers read food labels before they make a purchase decision. And you know what? Among the things they look for, 77% are looking for country of origin. That gives us a hint that origin's now part of how consumers are creating confidence in the products that they buy. And we know that extends beyond food too. Almost two-thirds of consumers in the US say that they want to know where their products are manufactured, which really speaks to the growing expectation on transparency and supply chain. However, the opportunity is simply not to label origin and assume people care. The opportunity is to make origin meaningful, personally, and positively beneficial. So we're going to start the discussion today and turn it over to Andrea and Mike, and they're going to speak a little bit about the meaning and purpose of origin. So, Mike and Andrea, as you begin to tell the story of Guatemala coffee, I'd like you to really focus on what does origin represent and why does it matter?
Yeah, thank you, Carol. I'll start off, and then Andrea and I are going to co-present. I'm left with asking a question that some of all of you, and thank you for joining us and all the friends that are on here from around the world. What exactly is brand when it comes to origin? What is a brand? And for us at Heart and Mind Strategies, a brand is a promise. It's a promise of a kind of experience that you're going to have if you interact with that brand. And if we apply that definition to origin, which, as Carol said, is gaining in traction and of interest across consumers and influencers and stakeholders, both B2C and B2B, that's what's being conveyed as well. On the origin side is what exactly is the promise that's being made by that origin brand when I'm going to interact with it, which I think also leads to the other question, which is what is the real power of purposeful origin branding? Well, it helps consumers answer several very human questions. Can I trust this? Is it high quality for what I'm paying? Is it authentic? Was it made responsibly and sustainably? Are the farmers, at least in the case of coffee that we're going to be talking about, and the communities benefiting? Can I trace it? And does choosing it say something about who I am and what I value? Because particularly these days, origin also stands for truth, the authenticity of where this is coming from and originating. And coffee origin can signal taste, it can signal the land, the climate, the topography, the farmer, the experience. It can also signal standards and performance. And origin becomes most powerful when it connects to a credible story and a clear consumer benefit. So today's discussion that we're having is about how we move from origin as just information. That's where this is from. This coffee is from Guatemala, but it's more than that, from information to origin as value and as a promise of what is being made if I'm going to experience that. From this came from here, just that, to this comes from a place with a human story. And I think you're going to really enjoy Andrea's content when she gets to it, because it is very human and it is very engaging, and it's a reason to believe. Done well, origin branding can create differentiation in crowded markets. It can help producers in regions capture more value. Guatemala is seeing that. It can change the image of nations, of brands, of experiences. It builds trust with consumers, builds trust even in B2B. It unifies what can be seen as coffee is just a commodity. No, to now it connects products to something deeper and more than just functional benefits to emotional benefits. It accesses human values, brand values, and reputation of organizations. So let's get into it with Andrea. She's going to bring up the presentation. Before we start, I do want to thank a couple of people at Anacafe. Luisa, who is over there, if you're on, thank you for your leadership. And also Juan Luis Barrios, who really, when we were doing this project with Andrea, I kind of call him the visionary, of this. He had a real vision for this, and it was our honor to work with all of you, on this. So Andrea is going to pull up the presentation, and we'll go through that and talk about Guatemalan coffee.
Thank you so much, Mike, for the introduction. Really, really happy to be here in this scenario together with Carol, Cara, and Bill, sharing this valuable information, which I feel proud of sharing under the title of From Origin to Everyday, How Specialty Coffee Earns a Place in Daily Life. We have been working hand on hand on this objective, on how to build up on origin to scale up. So really happy to be sharing together with you this scenario and together with our audience. My name is Andrea Vergara, Marketing Manager of the Guatemalan National Coffee Association, Anacafe. So just to frame a little bit what Anacafe is and what we does and represent, we are a nonprofit entity that supports and promotes Guatemala's coffee sector with 4 main functions. The first one, to represent the coffee sector in Guatemala. Then the second one, to develop and implement the national coffee policy. The third one, to provide services to coffee growers. And the last, but most important, to position Guatemalan coffees worldwide. That's one of our biggest responsibilities and functions as an association. And that's how we came with this big responsibility of always giving a step forward in terms of positioning and our value proposition and what we give to the industry in order to achieve this goal. So we came with a really challenging objective a couple of years ago in 2021 to the objective of redefining the positioning for the Guatemalan Coffees country brand to strengthen long-term competitiveness and relevance across diverse global audiences. So we function not as particular brands, but we represent a whole country brand. We are the umbrella that represents the whole coffee of our country. And we came with this challenge of repositioning, of adding value to our brand, with the purpose of scaling access to global audiences without scaling down the meaning of origin. So it was really challenging. And here's how we came to partner up with Heart+Mind to get this done. So I'll leave the word to Mike for this part.
Now, this is the relevancy, I think, for why this project, why then, why now, what was really needed for Guatemala, but also for Guatemalan Coffees and Anacafe. One was value creation, of helping to look at coffee as a natural asset and equity of Guatemala, of course, and really using that to reframe coffee from a product into a story and a differentiated value proposition. So, really strategic and important. But there's also this issue of origin equity. Guatemala has amazing coffees, of course, and we wanted to build on the country brand, using that as a way of also making emotional connection. Differentiation, coffee is the second or third most widely traded in the world. More and more countries that are origin countries for coffee are finding that they need to differentiate. Even organizations like Anacafe are realizing that, yes, they are using the technicals of coffee, right? The technicals of training, but also shifting maybe from just push-pull to pull-push, and what's the play of that? And then the brand power. This was really important. It's not just about visibility, but it was about consistency. Having this unified, overarching country coffee brand was very powerful for all of the regions that are in Guatemala, but also for Guatemala's producers. And that's what they lacked. There was not an overarching positioning. And then identity became important. Not many people understood Guatemala or Guatemalan coffees. And so the glass was less than half full with understanding. And we needed to fill that with identity, even with pride for the Guatemalans. And then purpose-driven consumption and trends. Consumers are increasingly valuing purpose, traceability, and impact. That's what we spoke about at the beginning of our webinar here. We are seeing consumers looking for origin. So a purpose-driven origin connects with buyers by highlighting who produces the coffee, what it represents, and why it matters. And that's important because of what the task was of us partnering with Anacafe and Guatemalan Coffees on this, was to make a shift. Image is how you are seen by others. So in this case, how is Guatemala and Guatemalan Coffees seen? But what's different, though, is how we want to be seen. And Guatemala needed to change its image. We needed to fill that glass with more information, better defining Guatemalan coffees. And so we were using coffee to change that image. And I give credit to Andrea for coining this, moving from top of mind to top of heart, and really creating that kind of emotional connection. So the Insights program that we built was really threefold. First off is we actually went on a outside in and inside out approach. Guatemalan stakeholder input from really different perspectives. We had conversations with farmers. We had across the coffee value chain. We had conversations even in the culinary and tourism industry. We got global input from roasters, baristas, manufacturers. I think some of you that are on this webinar with me, I had conversations with you back in 2021 for your own input that was so helpful for this. And then we also did work among global consumers to get their view of this as well, and included in the work. And that led to the positioning, if you just want to put this up. So at Heart+Mind, we use a brand model that looks like a triangle. And the way that we go about doing that is we're trying to push from just what is the human need that you see at the bottom all the way up to the brand positioning and at a values and at an emotional level. And I'll just read the brand positioning because it was pushing the envelope. Guatemala is leading the world's coffee industry forward with a thoughtful approach that benefits local farmers, rural farming communities, coffee drinkers, and the planet. Now, no one's going to see that in any type of advertising or digital on, right? No one's going to see that. But what the essence of that is Guatemala wanting to lead the innovation of the future of coffee. That's big. That is a big statement. And but Guatemala is delivering on that. And as you'll see when Andrea is sharing some information as well, Anacafe and Guatemalan Coffees not only wanted to do that from a future of innovation and in the practices of why that is to be believed, but also to see that, are we exporting more coffee? Are we getting differentials that are higher? Are we having a positive impact down at the farms and in communities? Are schools being built? Is healthcare being better? Are technicals on agronomy being provided, down at the farm level? And you'll see some of that in what Andrea is going to provide. So this right here, what you see, and there's a lot more detail to it that we're not able to share fully publicly, is what's then used to inform what I'm going to turn over, and Andrea is then going to share about how this was all activated and implemented.
Thank you, Mike. And definitely that this was our starting point, but what you have already seen from Mike was all the process that we did beneath in order to transform not only the logo, not only the brand, but our value proposition, our assets, the way we determine our new target audience, the way we determine the main messages we wanted to give to our audience. So it was really, really important to understand the process. And now we will understand how we migrated from step 1 to step 2. So this was our starting point, our logo, that it was a really, really successful logo that was born back in 1996. This logo was born together with the regionalization of our coffee cup profiles. By the way, we were pioneers in the world in making these regional cup profiles. And so this logo remained in the top of mind for many, many years of our roasters, of our importers, of our industry. So we were really proud of maintaining this logo, but we felt the necessity of giving a step forward into widening the way we were referring to the industry and to open up that scope to more audiences. So this was how our logo lived in every scenario, in every book, in every document that we generated of Guatemalan coffee. So this is how we started to portray our logo in different scenarios. The music is so powerful, and that represents also our brand. We're trying to build with this transformation was not a new logo. We just wanted to make a logo that was complementary with all the branding, all the activities that we did in order to build up on that logo, on that value proposition. We needed to be consistent, we needed to be congruent with the steps forward we were giving with our new value proposition. We were widening our scope. We were including a new target audience in the way our brand talked, in the way our origin talked to our different audiences. And then we, with this new value proposition and with this new identity, we targeted millennials and Gen Z, because we find in them our future consumers. We find in them the demand that the whole world was leading. It was led by millennials and Gen Z. So we needed to start talking to them, not only importers and roasters. Of course, we kept the messages to them, but we widened the scope. We widened the way we referred and we interact with our audience. And we define this new brand proposition to be cheerful, to be fun, to be dynamic, to be innovative, to be trendsetter. And that's how we came to our new logo, which was a jaguar, an icon representing life, strength, and power. The jaguar is a symbol of excellence, reflecting an agile and daring spirit to transform the future of Guatemalan coffees. And that's how we came to include everything we wanted to give to our new target here in this icon, because it represented life, because it represented strength and power, and it represented exactly the values that we wanted to give to our new target audience. And we yes included some parts of coffee in our icon. We included the leaves in the eyes. We included the coffee beans in the ears. We included one of the most important parts of our coffee industry, the topography, the volcanoes in the teeth of the jaguar. And of course, in the Guatemalan Coffees letters, the ups and downs resembles our topography of volcanoes and mountains that make our coffee really, really special. So we incorporated a lot of icons into our symbol in order, yes, to share what coffee represents, the values of our brand, and of course, the power that we wanted to transmit to our audience. And this is how our brand started to live in international exhibitions, in every event that we attended. So naturally, we started seeing millennials and Gen Z feeling attracted to the brand, feeling like a magnetic marketing. We were generating this scenario of people wanted to get in touch with our brand organically, wanted to interact with our brand, wanted to know more about our coffees, try our coffees, and that's how we saw that the step forward that we were giving was really, really in the right direction, because this is exactly what we wanted to generate. An emotion when getting in contact with origin. And this is what you're seeing right now in the screen. And again, consistency. That's what we were looking. We were looking to be consistent in the power of the brand, in the messages, in the images, in the music that we used. And that consistency are all that branding strategies that we follow in order to position our origin as a new human origin, as a fun origin, as a powerful origin, as I mentioned before. We had a really important turning point in the rebranding and repositioning process. And this turning point was in terms of content creation, as you have seen. The reach and appeal to a broader audience was really challenging because in the past, Guatemalan Coffees was only sharing highly technical content. And we transitioned to integrating different content pieces that resonated with a different audience. And that's how we came to produce and to start talking a different language, a language that was fun, easy, accessible, and entertaining on social media. And of course, we needed to measure the impact. And from 2021, which was the year where we launched this new value proposition, this new brand and logo, until 2024, we had seen a higher engagement in social media, a more active audience, higher quality interactions, more effective content, better click-through rate, and an increased profile visits. And of course, the last year, 2025, which I make a summary here of the highlights of 2025. So we had a growth of 27% in profile visits just in 2021. We had an increase of 4,800 followers, more than 600% of clicks, 4,200 clicks achieved, 8,000 interactions, 100% growth in the number of interactions, more than 500,000 views, 257,000 reach, and an increase in brand presence, a growing engagement with the audience. So we were seeing this powerful social media impact regarding how our content was being created. Now that you have seen the process that we had together with Heart+Mind and the process we conducted and led here in Anacafe, by weaving together research insights, stakeholder perspectives, and actionable brand strategies, we delivered an example of how Guatemalan coffees, how origin and country itself can transform and reposition a country's image on a world stage. And we have been continuing having these results in every world stage that we participate. The story is centered on the human element, how coffee growers, diverse landscapes, and Guatemala's vibrant culture come together to produce world-class coffees that connects emotionally with consumers worldwide. It's really, really what we meant to be, or the objective that we were seeking to achieve when doing all this brand positioning and the transformation of our logo and of our values. And of course, redefining origin with purpose. This is essential to building a competitive, sustainable, profitable, and meaningful coffee brand that resonated globally. And I would love to end this presentation with a video, because it's a really powerful video, a video that exactly summarizes and has all the elements that I have already shared with you in this presentation.
Volcanoes, mountains, adventure, nature, color, culture. Guatemala, a country that has everything to transform the coffee industry. The extraordinary Sierra Madre mountain range runs across the country, combining high elevation with active volcanoes, lakes, plains, and access to the oceans, creating more than 300 microclimates and giving coffee profiles their own identity. Here's where the adventure begins. Coffee production is present in all of Guatemala's departments with an extension of more than 376,000 hectares. What really makes the difference is its altitude, consistent rainfall patterns, and artisanal processes that guarantee complete traceability from origin to cup. Coffee regions. Guatemala's vibrant nature defines the flavor of its coffee, grown in 8 very different regions that share one thing: diversity in every cup. Acatenango Valley, grown between Pacific Ocean winds and Fuego Volcano's energy, with marked acidity, balanced body, and a clean, persistent aftertaste. Antigua Coffee, balanced, elegant, aromatic, and particularly sweet. It is grown under the radiant sun that shines over the Agua, Acatenango, and Fuego volcanoes. Traditional Atitlan, grown around the majestic Lake Atitlan. Full-bodied with a unique aroma, it has a pronounced citrus acidity. Rainforest Coban, fruity, with a delightful aroma and a smooth, balanced body, cultivated under gentle, year-round drizzles that boost its unique character. Fraijanes Plateau, a coffee with pronounced and persistent acidity, aromatic, and a well-defined body, grown with the strength of Pacaya, Guatemala's most active volcano. Highland Huehue, Grown in the highest and driest mountains at 2,000 meters above sea level, with winds that protect the coffee from frost, it has a fine and intense acidity, a full body, and pleasant winey notes. New Oriente. In a breathtaking, inactive volcanic mountain range, the rainy, cloudy climate yields a balanced coffee with full body and chocolatey flavor. Volcanic San Marcos, one of the rainiest and warmest regions, producing a coffee with a good body, pronounced acidity, and delicate floral notes in both aroma and flavor. Coffee forests. Guatemala's vibrant ecosystems represent more than 7.5% of the country's forests and enables the cultivation of coffee varieties with exceptional cup profiles. For more than 2 centuries, 98% of coffee plantations have grown under the shade of trees that filter sunlight, reduce soil erosion, and retain up to 70% of humidity. This allows the beans to ripen slowly, enhancing their acidity and cup profile. Coffee plantations are ecosystems that protect environmental balance. They preserve the soil, purify the air, and regulate water cycles, mitigating droughts and floods. For more than 3 million years, Guatemala has been a biodiversity hotspot in Mesoamerica, where coffee agroforestry systems play a key role in conservation. Plants, leaves, and trees interact to protect thousands of insects, arthropods, birds, and other species. The energy of 34 volcanoes that span Guatemala enriches the soil with minerals, volcanic rock, and organic matter, creating a fertile ground ideal for coffee cultivation. Profitability and sustainability. Guatemala offers an incomparable natural setting for coffee cultivation. Every day, practices are refined to promote environmental conservation, human well-being, and sustainability. Guatemalan coffee stands out in the market thanks to its quality, innovative processing practices, compliance with integrational standards, climate change mitigation, comprehensive development for coffee growers and communities. Anacafe. At Anacafe, we work to transform the future of Guatemalan coffee by developing and implementing a national coffees policy and connecting coffee growers and their products with global markets. We promote the use of technological tools, strengthen organizational management, and foster research and innovation through our Café department. Through AnaLab, we conduct scientific analysis of soils, plants, and water. In our cupping laboratory, we monitor coffee quality. We offer hulling, roasting, and packaging services through our roastery. We analyze the market, identify opportunities, and develop commercial tools for producers, and promote Guatemalan coffee locally and internationally. At Taza, our coffee academy, we share knowledge on barista skills, roasting, and cupping. And with a commitment to social development, we provide services focused on health, education, and food and nutritional security through Café. We dare to take a step forward and together transform the future of Guatemalan coffees.
Can you just take a minute and speak to the reputational benefit that Anacafe has seen from this? Because this was about the Guatemala Coffees brand, but like what you do with Cafe and other aspects, how has Anacafe as an organization benefited from this?
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for bringing up that question up. And definitely, Anacafe is the entity that represents the brand Guatemalan Coffees, but what the whole audience sees is Guatemalan Coffees. But yes, they're always looking into the work that Anacafe as an institution is doing. Remember the 4 main functions that I mentioned at the beginning. Of course, I only center on the last one, which was the objective of brand positioning, but we also have a really high or strong responsibility into maintaining a high quality, competitive, and profitable coffee industry. And of course, we need to work on that in order for this Guatemalan Coffees brand to be as powerful as it's being right now. And we're working hand in hand with the producers for them to be more sustainable, more competitive. We have a huge program that's called Rentabilidad Sustentable in Spanish, but profitable sustainability in English. And what we're looking is for producers to get to know more their costs, to understand their margins, to be more productive, because the land will be the same for many, many years. So what we are working is for them to produce more per plant. For their plants to be more productive in order for all of these marketing efforts to be in line and congruent and consistent with what we are doing at the agronomical level and at the productive level.
Yeah.
And of course, with Café, which is our social arm of Anacafe, of our institution, in which we give back socially to the coffee sector, in which we work in food nutrition and health and education. In order to give back to our coffee sector, in order to assure that we have a competitive coffee sector. And definitely, Mike, we need to be hand in hand and be consistent in the efforts made with the brand, with our commercial brand or our promotional brand, Guatemalan Coffees, but as well what we do as an institution with the producers.
Yeah. Your corporate brand, I call it the corporate brand, is benefiting and reputational. Thank you. Well, let's go over to Carol and Bill. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Andrea. I think, you and Mike really told the story of why origin matters, right? And how do you effectively communicate that human story and build the brand globally. So we're going to transition a little bit and talk about those rising expectations that we hit at the front of the dialogue. And we see that the quality expectations have risen. People want better coffee everywhere. And that means, specialty coffee is moving more and more into more convenient spaces, whether that be the micro markets, the vending machine, the break room. It's the places where we live, work, and play. So, as you think about that, Bill, the convenience service industry is serving millions of people every day, right? Millions of moments a day. So talk a little bit about that and how specialty shows up and realistically what that means in the context.
Thank you so much, Carol, for the introduction, both of me and of convenience services. Following on Andrea's presentation about what's next and the growing awareness of specialty and single origin coffee like those from Guatemala, I'd like to share perspective on advancing coffee market penetration in the United States by partnering with convenience services industries. Naturally, you may ask yourself, what's the convenience services industry? And at a very high level, convenience services provides care and hospitality to people in an ever-expanding range of places and spaces. We're the quiet logistics operation that delivers reliable services into the places where life happens. Think about it this way. Every day is shaped by moments. The early start, the midday pause, the long stretch, the quiet reset. These moments happen at work, they happen at home, they happen on the go, and they make everything else possible. Work gets done, care is delivered, and behind these moments is something essential. It's access to what people need when they need it. That's the convenience services point of credibility, and that's our story. It's the role of convenience services. As an industry, we exist to make everyday essentials ready and within reach, seamlessly integrating into the environments where life happens. We anticipate needs before they're spoken. We curate the best choices. From whole bean, cold brew, and nitro coffee to fresh foods and snacks, we are the reliable presence throughout the day. Across the United States, more than 11,000 convenience services operators provide hospitality and ready access at more than 3.1 million locations, serving more than 40 million consumers every day. The industry shows up and provides care in a variety of contexts, including micro markets, vending machines, office coffee, and pantry services. I should also add that a significant number of operators also operate food service establishments, cafes, and are themselves coffee roasters. For today's conversation, I'll focus mostly on micro markets, office coffee, and pantry services. Let's define what those are. A micro market is an unattended retail environment in a controlled access location where consumers select products from shelves or coolers and complete purchases using self-service checkout systems. You've probably seen a micro market in an airport, but increasingly they are in workplace establishments more on the blue collar side. But that blue collar worker who's still paying for their snack or beverage is seeking an elevated experience. If the target is a millennial or a Gen Z worker, that person grew up in coffee culture with mix-ins, with lattes, with coffee that has a story. And whether they're paying for it or receiving it as an office amenity, they want that elevated experience. On the office coffee and pantry services side, these are generally employer-provided amenities that create a sense of care and community at work. And let's be honest with one another, we all spend more time at work than we do with our own families. So we should at least enjoy being there and have those special treats that help us feel better about our day and help us get what we need when we need it. As many of you know from your own places of work, the design of the built environment today is changing. Today, an office lobby is more of a cafe. So is a break room or a micro kitchen. Space design has moved beyond the functional to offer cheerful, fun, and dynamic spaces with a sense of place. Note for a moment that these are the same words and same framing that Anacafe used to talk about the purpose of coffee. We're now talking about the experience and location where that coffee can be consumed. And in the context of micro markets and workplace refreshment, convenience services operators partner with client sites and their consumers or employees to curate food and beverage products and provide that elevated experience and sense of belonging. This manifests in space design, product selection, and brand narratives related to origin, sustainability, transparent sourcing, and a variety of other attributes that foster connection and belonging. So convenience services is ready for you wherever you are. We show up in workplaces of all types and sizes, from Google or Accenture to a chicken processing plant or a General Motors factory floor. We provide around-the-clock care at healthcare, military, education, and government campuses. And if you live in a city, we're seamlessly integrated into your apartment lobby to ensure easy access to everyday essentials, including specialty coffee. With so many places and spaces served by convenience services, we are anything but one size fits all. Convenience services operators partner with clients to deliver the choice that reflects consumer needs. Operators study space utilization, consumer desires, and volume or throughput requirements to curate a precise experience and equipment required in every location. For example, we know younger millennials and Gen Z prefer cold brew and nitro coffee over hot, while older millennials, Gen X, and boomers prefer hot coffee. Today, convenience services operators are providing the equipment and the appropriate coffee to ensure that everyone gets what they need wherever they are. Similarly, in an office coffee installation outside of a conference room, that area might be better served by equipment that brews from concentrate rather than pods or whole bean, based entirely on the volume and brew time requirements and throughput of that location. What once was an industry focused on logistics to deliver commodity products, today curates a coffeehouse experience that allows consumers to treat themselves. In fact, Treat Myself is one of the leading non-alcoholic beverage drivers in office coffee service. It means operators are curating options to ensure consumers feel cared for with single origin coffees from local craft coffee roasters, equipment that brews and delivers a vast variety of coffee concoctions, and allied products to elevate that experience. But don't take it from me. Let's hear from HR and facility managers, and let's hear what they have to say about convenience services at work.
There's somebody there that's actually going to be supportive and be there if you need something.
It's also about creating an environment where you're seen as more of a person rather than just a number.
Coffee and juices, it just shows we care about you all. We care about you. It shows you care about your employees. You care about their well-being. This is not something that we have to do. We do it because we care.
It's built a little bit of culture. with employees being able to just like get up, walk over there, grab a cup of coffee when they want it, when they have a moment, a break. It kind of creates a space for those like
employees do lunch there. They grab their snacks there. It's a time to have team building, to have thoughtful discussions, to talk strategy. Community is built by, at the dinner table and through good, thoughtful conversations. And
people would riot if we got rid of the coffee. It's such a small investment, relatively speaking, for the amount that people enjoy it.
I'm going to go back really quickly. A small investment at an individual company level, but just in the OCS and pantry category, there was $2 billion of coffee sales just last year. This is non-retail. This is ship data based on amenities offered at work. That's in about 200,000 total locations across the United States, 200 to 300,000. The other 2.9 million or so are public-facing retail locations with additional value in sales of coffee and other allied products.
I was just going to say, Bill, to kind of connect it to the origin side. I mean, I think you're going to speak to this, but even at OCS in that channel or micro market in that channel, origin and source for coffee also is, we're seeing that workers are looking for that. They're wanting that authenticity. Where is this coffee from? Not just the brand is at a retail brand per se, but again, wanting to know where that origin source is.
Well, and riffing off of that, Mike, something to think about is today people bring their whole selves to work. That millennial or Gen Z that really enjoys the story behind coffee in the grocery store aisle, or the story on the back of the coffee bag talking about the specific volcano in Guatemala where the beans were grown. That person comes to work with those same desires, but it's a new offering in the at-work environment to connect the human desire with the product offering that meets their needs. And that's really what convenience services does. It reduces the friction of everyday life. We continue to address unmet need by elevating the consumer experience for 40 million people every single day. And as a result, the industry has been one of the strongest performing segments within food service over the past 5 years. You see the chart on the right of your screen, 14.8% annual growth rate. Compare that to retailers, QSR, full service, quick service restaurants, healthcare, education, and the like. This is an untapped resource for coffee roasters and coffee growers to get into millions of new locations. So why are we growing? What are the growth trends that are making this happen? It's structural shifts in industry composition. Increasingly, operators are thinking about the bespoke and custom nature of how they meet people's needs. What once might have been a vending machine in a dimly lit stairwell or in a laundry room in an apartment building is now a beautiful coffee house or cafe. It's that lobby that I talked about. Similarly so, because of the prevalence of micro markets and office pantries today, employers are thinking differently about their space considerations and about what they put in to make it fit the overall environment. So as you can see, this is a coffee installation on the right of your screen in Atlanta. This was a vending machine bank, but it became a beautiful cafe with self-serve coffee options, tea, water, and allied snacks in a beautiful space that encourages belonging, communication, engagement, and increased dwell time. Similarly, we have hybrid work patterns. Following the pandemic, if an office building or an employer had a cafeteria, they probably closed it. And today that building can no longer support a cafeteria. They're being replaced by beautiful micro markets with access to coffee and allied snacks and products that encourage in-person work. It also elevates quality, story, and sustainability. And then finally, the technology and format evolution. Technology is increasing in its prevalence in the convenience services industry. Everything is connected. It provides incredible consumer data, and operators know what people consume, when they consume it, and what they want. This isn't a blind placement of coffee in a random building and hoping someone buys it. It's a connected, data-driven digital ecosystem that provides consumer data and allows operators to fine-tune their offerings on an ongoing basis to make sure people have what they need. So with that, I think I'll turn it back over to Mike and Carol to round this out, and I'm happy to take any questions, but let's get coffee. If you're in DC, we'll get together and talk about convenience services.
Thanks, Bill. And we do have a couple questions in the chat, so I'd like to draw our attention there for our panelists. So first one, how big of a role is the price value equation factoring into the specialty coffee preference? As consumer pricing has risen dramatically post tariffs, are consumers now turning to higher quality options? Because if they're going to pay for a lot, they expect more quality.
I can speak to some of that. I think it depends on the consumer, and it also might depend upon the channel. But the work that we do in this space shows that consumers are increasingly willing and are paying for specialty coffees, different types of specialty coffee beverages. So consumption, not only in the US, but around the world, is continuing to accelerate for specialty coffee. It is not declining. Even with the tariffs that came into effect and then rolled back on most of the countries, we are seeing significant growth. Some of the fastest growth, and again, where they're paying for it in the world in specialty coffee is in the Middle East, and it is also in Asia, specifically in China and also emerging in India. But a lot of Asian countries is where you're seeing rapid growth. These markets are not necessarily what we would call mature specialty markets, but they're moving there, or their consumers want to move there. And then lastly, I think also in some of our in the Central and South American territory, in some of those regions, similarly, where these are historically source origin countries, right? Think of Guatemala, where Andrea is, or think of Brazil, the world's #1 exporter of coffee. You are also seeing where there's more interest in wanting to consumers wanting to consume specialty coffee. And you're seeing that across channels, like Bill was saying, even in OCS, you're seeing that growth in those channels. Good, Carol.
And I can chime in on that a bit. On the public-facing retail side of things, we haven't seen any thinness in the convenience services ecosystem related to trading down to white label brand or lower quality commodity coffee. And at the same time, on the office amenity side of things, a public policy note, in the tax reforms last year, the deduction for office provided amenities was removed. And I've been told on Capitol Hill and from our members that a total of 0 companies have tried to trade down as a result of losing a deduction for offering these services. They're doing it because this is what their employees want and expect.
And from a consumer behavior standpoint, one of the big things that's changing is we used to traditionally think of there's channels where we go and consume coffee or other products, and then there's day parts and product by day part or channel and where I'm going. And right now, to use Bill's phrase, the human is showing up as themselves everywhere, and that's where this blending is occurring. We're seeing blending across channels, and we're seeing blending across day parts. That opens up enormous opportunity for brands to be able to meet those human needs, not in terms of just channel or not just in terms of day part, but now the blending of that.
Thank you. Another question, what barriers exist for international specialty coffee producers to get more of their product into U.S. micro markets and offices? Does branding play a role in removing these barriers?
So yeah, definitely we are seeing not so many barriers. We are just, and I'd like to mention this, like 30 years ago, here in Guatemala, we didn't have that much or that many specialty coffee shops or that many access to specialty coffee. Last November, or a couple of months ago, we had a competition where we priced 60 coffee shops at the national level. So we are seeing that definitely that increase in the consumption of specialty coffee, and adding up also in the question and in the past intervention of Mike and Bill, we are seeing, yes, our national consumption rising, the education, the knowledge about specialty coffee is growing at the national level and at the international level. So we're definitely seeing how the market and how the industry is pulling up the standards. It's growing. and the consumer, it's consuming it. The consumer is not out of that equation. Definitely the consumer is jumping up into this equation. So more of the barriers, I think that we're seeing a lot of a phenomenon pushing forward into getting more knowledge, into getting more access to specialty coffee in convenience stores, in machines, in specialty coffee shops, wherever the channel is. But we're definitely seeing that consumers are shifting into each time consuming more and each time being more informed about the coffee they're consuming. So we're seeing that in the national level really, really strong. In the past 30 years, we didn't have this much amount and number of coffee shops. And last November, we priced 60 coffee shops that are having the quality, are having the knowledge, the baristas, the coffee, of course. And I can say that we are not seeing that much barriers, neither on the national level nor in the international level. On the contrary, we're seeing that the whole industry is pushing forward.
And I will add to that we are seeing greater interest, at least here in the U.S., to the question of being interested in a coffee that is from a coffee brand that is at origin, but is now available in the United States. Oh, that's what the Guatemalans are drinking. Oh, that's what the Brazilians are consuming. That's Vietnamese coffee. Oh, I want to try that because that's back to authentic. That's back to human. That's where that coffee is coming from. So I think that's a very untapped space, actually, to be able to go in that direction, because you're getting appeal to very genuine coffee, very genuine experience, from that truth. I mean, it's kind of speaks to human truth again.
Hey, Bill, we've got a specific question for you too about how price sensitive are companies when deciding what coffee to make available to their employees. So considering that companies want to take care, we heard that, right? In those discussions with the decision makers, they want to take care of their employees. How much are they willing to spend to provide that care?
Well, I've been stewing on Juan Luis's question here for a few minutes, because there are so many different answers to this, whether it's geographically driven or employer paid versus employee paid and so on. So the employer is offering a variety of different things depending on the place and space that they occupy. I'll go to employee paid first. So the provision of an office coffee service in an employee paid context is about access and availability. Imagine that worker taking a break needs to get in an elevator, get in a car, drive down the road, get into a parking lot, get to a coffee shop, get brewed, get back in the car, get back to the office. By the time they get back to the office, the coffee is either cold or spilled on their lap. And they didn't get a break in any way. In that context, the employee is paying for time. You empowered them to get a high quality cup of coffee, and they'll pay at a variety of different price points based on what that employee is interested in. Some want X, others want Y. And it's the role of convenience services to present those options in that employee paid environment. In an employer paid environment, and they're about equal in terms of numbers that are out there. In an employer paid environment, they're thinking about spend per employee per day. And that's done in a variety of different ways. Many offer a subsidy, a discount, take part of the cost in terms of a rev share, or they are really treating this as an elevated amenity where they're asking their employees, what do they want? We see operators going into client side environments, offering coffee tastings and running coffee surveys to understand which of these 15 coffees do you most prefer. And then that's what gets stocked. Now, think about this again differently. It's not about a single coffee maker or a single coffee installation in an office building. I'm thinking of one large auto manufacturer in Michigan that has an engineering facility that occupies 1 square mile. This square mile large facility has upwards of 20 different cafes and office coffee service locations. So everything is immediately accessible and within reach to them. To directly answer your question, Juan Luis, I know I went all the way around it. Price sensitivity is a concern, but they're thinking of it more in terms of the employee and what they spend per employee, per location, per day. But we haven't seen any thinness or trading down. Rather, we're seeing trading up because these are amenities that are designed to encourage in-person work. And employers want their people there, and they want them to be happy, efficient, and productive.
I think we can also say that if you are a distributor or if you are a coffee brand and you are serving the OCS channel, that's a very profitable channel for you. I think the numbers in the P&L bear that out. I know from what I've seen in my own experience working at a coffee brand, our OCS channel, our on-premise channels were very profitable. So to Bill's point and to Juan Luis's question, I think as that channel, again, OCS, think on-premise, think micro markets, as they're moving up to specialty, and again, as origin, kind of tie this back, origin authenticity is becoming more and more in demand. There's a higher price point that can be commanded and would be paid.
Well, we're at the top of the hour, so I'd like to just close with, first of all, thank you. Thank you to our panelists for bringing that industry, the producer, the operator, the consumer realities together. Thanks to all of you for being part of the conversation today and your wonderful questions. I think that our conversation really reinforced that simple truth that, as specialty coffee continues to scale into more convenient settings, we're growing access, but we're also evolving, preserving, and maintaining that meaning of origin and what that means in terms of that overarching quality, credibility, and the human story behind the cup. So thank you all for joining today and wish you all a great afternoon, evening, and morning, wherever you are.